It's a privilege to welcome you to this panel. This is one of the most critical pillars of digital transformation, and we're talking this afternoon about trust in identity systems. But what I like even more is who we have on the stage are the people that are actually managing it now, today. So I really look forward to discussing the importance of having accurate national ID, which allows the citizens to get services, but to also protect their rights. And we're going to be exploring that a little bit with each one of you, so we can learn some of the lessons that you have learned, from technology to process to frameworks that you have used to make that good. So let's dive right in. And maybe DG Abdullah, I could start with you. You've implemented a whole lot of tools recently. So for verification, authentication, things like DGA, and I'd love your view on the tools. What are you doing to make sure that the tools are working for you, that they're reliable, and would you explain a little bit of what you have?
I think at NIRA Somalia, our approach to identity verification has been shaped by the realities of the Somalis' evolving digital ecosystem. We are currently using consent-based one-time password verification system that many organizations are relying on for secure and user-friendly checks. It's simple for us, it's cost-effective and accessible to even in the areas with limited digital literacy. However, we are not stopping there. This month, we are actually rolling out biometric verification, particularly fingerprints, to strengthen the robustness and accuracy across the national ID system. In the future, as we move forward, we are actually moving multimodal approach, combining the biometric and PKI authentication and mobile verification. And I think that's where we are heading. So our goal is to achieve a balance between the technical robustness and usability so that the verification is not only secure but also simple and inclusive. Thank you.
If we can move over to DG Josephine from Rwanda. You've embarked on your biometric enrollment system, and I wonder if you could share with us, how that's been going, and how are you ensuring that you're keeping the integrity in the system?
So our single digital identity, flagged as Indangamuntu, has been launched, and we are working on a tiered approach where, yes, we are collecting biometrics. We're having a multimodal biometric where we are taking the face, the iris, and the 10 fingerprints, and we're taking from 5 years old. But when we go to the authentication layer to ensure that the ecosystem can leverage this infrastructure that is now available to them, so we have the tier 1 is for the small organizations that cannot afford these biometric kits for authentication, so we are using a mobile smartphone for them. And the good thing with it is also it will allow to do authentication even offline, but they need a 72-hour window to, again, refresh and resynchronize. And then the second layer, they need to have a dedicated kit to do the authentication, and they can also use the cloud system. And then on the third layer, which the third tier that has a more advanced organization that have financial means for them, they can have the fully fledged multimodal where they can do face, they can do fingerprint, they can do iris, and them, because they have infrastructure, they can even use our cloud solution.
So children is a topic all on its own, but just for interest, how are you starting with 5 years old? Do you do that at the school when they go for vaccinations, or
yes.
Why 5 years old?
So, yes, the current identity we had was issued from 16 and above. So going back to now the maturity of the biometric even technology, so we are going from 5, and then what we are doing is at pre-enrollment level, because we need to collect the consent of the parent. So at pre-enrollment, the parent is the one that gives us the identification information of their child. And you know that we have a fully digitized CRVS system, so all our kids are already part of a system, so we pull their information, and then with the consent of the parent, now we go find them. So we have mobile team that move across the country, district by district, and if it's an area that has kids, we find them in schools, and then we collect their biometrics. But we also go in different communities, not only in schools.
So maybe first I can ask Executive Director Rosemary Kasembo from Uganda. You know, Uganda has been so successful with biometrics. You know, you've been so successful with biometrics already. You've been working on making it interoperable across the country. You know, you're almost becoming a showcase for biometrics. And I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about that experience.
So Uganda has been at this for the last 10 years, to be precise. So as a result, we have recorded success and lots of lessons learned. When we started out, the first exercise in the first year brought 16 million people on board from 16 years and above. At that time, the population of Uganda was about 32 million. Today, we are at 45.9 million. And by the time we started the new round on the open source platform, we had 27 million people on the register, which represented about 60.4 million people. Now, when do we start? Our law allows us to start at age 0. So we start taking biometrics from 9 months. At 9 months, we take the face. At 5 years, we take everything. So how did we move to interoperability? We had 5 years of some lock-ins. It's at that time that we made a decision to opt for an interoperable platform. The first 5 years, despite having a vendor-locked system, we still enrolled the 27 million, and we still have 103 partners accessing online, accessing us through an API, through some technical means for data exchange. At the heart of the exchange are two roles: verify, yes and no, and access and use. Access and use in Uganda, that means, what is access and use? It's lingua, meaning that you give permission to somebody to see details of your profile in NIRA. In NIRA, we keep 147 data fields, because it's not just a Ndagamuntu, or it's not just an identification, it's also a citizenship ID. So for viewing personal records, we use biometric consent. So you go to a firm that wishes to perform KYC, you submit your fingerprint, and then a statement of consent, then the data is shown. It's just as simple as that. This is also going to be rolled onto the new platform. On the new platform, we have also experienced the iris now we are hitting the 5 million mark for the young ones. For the adults, we've hit, I think, the 11.6 million mark in the last 3 months. So in a sense, it is an interplay of not just technology, but full government support. Government support at every level. Government purchased 5,500 biometric kits. Government paid for the service right up to parish level. Government invited people at parish level. Now we are moving into schools, and the Ministry of Education is hand in hand with the Ministry of Internal Affairs, Ministry of ICT, all the NITA, NIRA, and the message is singular. Please register the children. So upon that platform, we have also added another interoperable platform, OpenCRVS. It's also, many people here know it, built on the open technology stack. But at the end of the day, we are saying we are building a foundational ID, which will be easy to access. Last statement I would like to say there is, in NERA, we remember that we are custodians of data and not owners of data. The fundamental difference between any government agency and our data is in other government agencies, they create data. They create tax data, they create, all the other data is created by the entity. But in NERA, we are custodians of data that we do not own. That is at the heart and the theme and the policies and the procedures that drive our technical systems. Thank you.
If I can move to Director from Tanzania, maybe just to talk a little bit, and I maybe think we should talk a little bit about your ID card program. You know, you've had some experiences with production of cards, but also getting the cards to the people. You know, so at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you close the loop. So Director Guai, if you can maybe talk to us a little bit about physical ID cards and how that is going in production, how you're reducing delays in getting the cards to the citizens, and tell us a bit about that, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to share a little bit about the Tanzanian experience in terms of the distribution and the issuance of the national ID card. Yes, before 2023, we had that challenge of distribution and the collection of ID to the citizen. And as you know, we started registration in 2012, where we did mass registration in 2017, in 2018, where we deployed almost 5,000 kids to village level, to last mile, where we do the collection of citizen information. And there is a delay in issuance of ID card. When we reached 2023, the problem was people has a number of national ID number, but they don't have the national ID card. And the push of why people come to register was the linkage between the SIM card registration and national ID. From 2020, we did a linkage where we link the SIM card and national ID biometrically. This use case pushed a lot the registration. So as of statistics, the registration was low, almost less than 50%. But when we started linkage of national ID with the SIM card registration, the enrollment increases up to 75%. And when we started issuance of national ID card, we pushed the data to almost 85%. So what was the challenge before 2023? First challenge was the production capacity. We had the machine which the production capacity was not that much. So to address the problem, the government took a multi-layer approach to address the problem. Number one was to increase the production capacity. So we bought a high-speed machine which has the capability to produce 9,000 cards per hour. So if you have that capable machine to produce 9,000 cards per hour, it is easier to clear the backlog. The second initiative was to engage, to deploy a very efficient logistics where we use a post office corporation to do the distribution of card, and also we engage the local government authority to send the card to the village level. So this approach plus mass awareness and engagement with the citizen and also use of technology like SMS, we push the SMS to all eligible persons. So this approach increased the production from 52% in 2023 up to 97% of eligible population. So the push, or the reason why Tanzania has managed to increase the production and the issuance of the card was, number one is implementation of of strategic use cases. As you know, in Tanzania, we have linked almost 124 institutions, and they use national ID for service delivery. Now in Tanzania, you cannot get anything without national ID. You cannot get a driving license without national ID. You cannot get a health insurance card without national ID. You cannot pay tax unless you have national ID. You cannot receive anything on land without national ID. So we've integrated a number of key services. So these use cases help us to increase the production and the requirement of use of the national ID. So as a lesson learned in our country, the use case, proper use case, increase the production. Engagement to the public, engagement to other stakeholders also increase uptake of national ID. Thank you.
Mr. Gumi, 180 million national identification numbers. How are you going to do this? How are you going to maintain the integrity of your systems? Please tell us about it. There's a massive scale in Nigeria, and we'd love to hear.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to express my gratitude on behalf of the DG CEO of National Identity Management Commission, and I'm very honored to sit here and represent her. Like all the panel participants mentioned, your choice of security platform depends on the usability and on the usability and the ability for you to deploy it with the cost effectiveness. So for NIMC, because of the size, it goes without saying that we are the largest database in Africa. So we choose to use the PKI infrastructure, which is usually designed for large networks, like you have on your internet digital certificates. So due to the size of our database, PKI is a very reliable backbone platform for our security. And also we can deploy it as a service to cut the administrative cost and make it more effective in managing the security infrastructure. Another platform that I want to bring to our attention is the mobile verification application that we use to seek consent for the use of individuals' data information. This is a native application developed by NIMC to assist in consent, providing consent to use of registered individuals' identity in the database.
Thank you. If I can come back to you, DG Abdullah, and maybe you can talk to us a little bit just about how you're helping interoperability happen, how you're breaking down silos, are you making use of open standards, what's some of your thoughts about architecting so that you don't have silos in the country?
Actually, in Somalia, we have started our digital ID system in 2023. And where our vision is to make the Somali National ID the foundation for digital public services. There was, before there was no foundation that was enabling all systems to communicate to each other. But when we actually launched our digital ID system, we started the idea of integrating all systems and making the ID as a foundation. We're using open standards to enable that, APIs, and as my colleague said, now we're thinking actually, we're planning to come up with adapt BKI digital credentials to ensure smooth interoperability across the sectors. And currently, our system is linked to different systems: immigration, social protection, financial sector, but using simply the cost-based one-time password integration through API. So we are actually following a federated model. Each institution retains the control of its data, but the authentication is done securely through the national ID registry. So to avoid duplication and strengthen privacy and enable efficiency of service delivery. We are promoting data exchange protocols that comply the national data protection law and with the international best practices so that Somalia systems can connect seamlessly with the other within government systems and private systems and the systems outside, beyond our borders. So ultimately, we are seeing the national ID as a shared infrastructure and foundation for all to avoid silos.
So DG Josephine, I know you've got thoughts on breaking down silos. Maybe a similar question for you. How are you making sure silos don't happen? How are you ensuring interoperability, data sharing? Do you have some thoughts on the topic to share?
Yes, I think even my predecessors talked about the APIs. So as we are going towards the digital ID, even on the foundation ID that we already had APIs available to the various stakeholders. So what we did to reduce even any challenge moving forward, because the transition is also a major item that we need to think about. So we chose to remain with RESTful API because the ecosystem is already used to it, and not only our data, even other institutions that provide data for service delivery, they use RESTful. So we all agree that we are going to use almost similar technology to reduce the friction. The other one is also to see those who do not have back-end systems, because yes, some institutions have backend, it's easy for them to use the API to authenticate, but also provide gateways or solutions for them. So we use our government enterprise service bus, where smaller institutions, they can use the infrastructure to be able to authenticate, so they can do it once off. Maybe they have major data they need to validate, they can use it that way. Or if they want, they can also lease, or they can ride on another institution that they partner with, and then they do the authentication on their behalf, and then they are able to give them that assurance, because KYC is mandatory in their domain of work.
Executive Director Rosemary, maybe we talked a little bit about in Rwanda doing pre-enrollment, but in Uganda you also do pre-enrollment. If you could maybe talk a little bit about your process, the pre-enrollment portal, verification, how are you keeping everything reliably linked together? If you could tell us a little bit about how you do this.
Still, it comes from our lessons learned over the 10 years. One is the pre-enrollment. The pre-enrollment, with the increasing of internet penetration across the country, I think it's standing somewhere above 60%. It is possible now for people to have access to do pre-enrollment. Before, when we first started out in 2015, probably internet penetration was at 20%. So with a growing underlying infrastructure, like internet penetration, the pre-enrollment becomes possible. But the other dimension to pre-enrollment is, one, the person. How do you ensure that they are telling the truth? We have 27 million records already on the register. So every Ugandan has at least one person on that register already. So the consistency of the data will, first of all, tell us your first level of truth. There is a mechanism within the systems, both old and new, to triangulate or to, build a story from the data that exists to know that this is quite unlikely or this is quite likely. So there are business rules right within the systems that query that sort of story. For example, you cannot be younger than your mother. Older than your mother. There's some simple, if you're the fourth child, you cannot be older than the third child. So there are simple, rules that fish out this. That said and done, there's a biometric. Biometrics are God's way of saying we shall know who you are all year round. Change your name, change your hair, change your date of birth, change everything, but we shall still know who you are. The foundational database has always had the biometrics as a backbone. Last and not least, still in the pre-registration, you will come, you will tell us who you are, and you will come and we take your biometrics based on who you've told us who you are. Ultimately, the use of the data will tell us the truth. Because you cannot lie at school, lie in the hospital, lie at the passport office. So as we triangulate data sources across government, the truth begins to filter out. So given the ecosystem of 103 connecting parties, a bank will call you and say, but this person's fingerprints, he told us it's James, but you seem to have Paul. So that in itself, the use of the data is a mechanism for cleaning in itself. It's a mechanism of strengthening the integrity of the data. Thank
Makes
you.
a lot of sense. Thank you. Mr. Guyai, with all this data that is being kept, maybe you could talk a little bit about Tanzania and the regulatory framework you are putting in place now for data protection and trust. Could you tell us a bit more about that, supporting this with regulations?
As you know, nowadays data become a very important commodity. So we need to protect the information and also the integrity of the data. So we have put a number of mechanisms to make the data secured. As you know, we enacted Data Protection Act in 2022, but we started in 2012. So there is a gap of 10 years since, before the Data Protection Act was enacted. But because since the inception of National ID, we know the importance of data, and we know there is a global data protection principles, the 8 principles. So we incorporate the 8 global data protection principles in the design and also in the data sharing while we are waiting for government to enact the data protection law. But in 2023, government enacted data protection law, 2022, sorry, and in 2023, it established the body to safeguard, or the body which could be as a watchdog to make sure that the data are collected, stored, processed, and shared in a safer or in a secure way. So we as NIDA, because we know the importance of protecting the personal information, we have established a number of mechanisms. First, as my colleague said, we have the open API, but these open API are not open. Open API with security. So we've implemented a number of security. Number one, we secure the channel. The channel will share the information. We use the VPN technology. And also, we secure the data by using PKI. Previously, we didn't have the national PKI, but because we know the importance of signing, protect the data, encrypting, so we use the workaround to make sure the data which we are sharing to third parties, they are shared in a very secured manner. So apart from having institutions which govern the data protection, but we as NIDA, we have implemented a number of mechanisms to check. We are always conducting a regular audit in the institution which we are sharing the information. Are they comply with what we have set before the integration? And also, are they using the information as per agreement? And also, we have, before integrating or before sharing the information, we signed the so-called data sharing agreement. We put some term and condition. So if we breach those term and condition, then you are able to be revoked with that services. So we have a number of mechanisms in terms of technology, the encryption and everything, also mechanism in the way we are sharing and in terms of the legal and the contractual obligation which we are putting in the data sharing. So these are the mechanisms which we are putting in place to make sure that the personal data are well protected. And we know because of low literacy of our citizens, because we have implemented a number of authentication mechanisms. We have biometric authentication, which is high security. We have OTP, one-time password, and also security questions. For those institutions who do not have a fingerprint scanner, they use security question. For this security question, sometimes citizens, they just write this in paper, piece of paper. So if the paper goes to the wrong hand, you can use this security information to get service or to open an account without the presence of that person. So as a measure, we are working close with the Data Protection Act, and as I said, we've implemented a consent-based data sharing, and also we do a public awareness to make sure that people know the importance of data and how to protect their personal information. Thank you.
Mr. Gumi, down at the end there, you heard Rosemary talk about the power of biometrics in Uganda, but in Nigeria you're busy adding more modalities to your system. So maybe you could talk a little bit about why are you adding iris and how are you going to ensure the integrity of everything. But the first question really is, why are you adding iris and how are you going to manage this?
Most of the conversation that we have generally today is on data protection, looking at the authorizing agencies that exchange data to protect the core of the matter, and that core of the matter is the personal identifiable information. So I want to look at this from the supply side of the equation rather than the demand side. There is also a responsibility towards the citizen whose data is being protected and his identity as an asset. He also bears responsibility. He's not just a passive person in the equation. And for NIMC, we provide the tools for the citizen to also participate in determining the usability of that information. One of the tools that we use is the NIN Auth software that we developed, which enables the citizen to be actively involved in consent provision, so that his data can be used according to the rules and regulation of the Data Protection Act or policy that is being put in place. Another is also the accuracy. Accuracy plays a crucial role in the exchange of data, because the PII is useless if the accuracy of the citizen is not updated. And because of that, we at NIMC provide a self-modification platform where a citizen can update his information where it is found inaccurate, so that the framework can really benefit the ecosystem. But because without accurate information, the whole framework of data sharing will be useless. So to make that possible, that we maintain the accuracy, we focus on the tools that will enable and empower citizens to have an updated information in the database.
DG Abdullah, you told me earlier as well that the private sector is quite active in Somalia. So maybe a question about how are you approaching regulatory agreements with the private sector? How are you providing secure verification for these sectors? You know, are you regulating around data protection between government and the private sector? Could you maybe tell us a little bit about how you're doing that?
Actually, yes, we are working with both the public and private sector entities. And ID is in any national ID system, is built on three strong pillars: sound legislations, capable institutions, and consistent enforcement. We have established, these foundations through the National ID Act, the Data Protection Act, and the creation of there is also Data Protection Authority. So when we are actually integrating or engaging private or public institutions, we sign data sharing protocols in place where we actually entail data protection clauses and how data is shared and protected. Because these laws define how personal data are processed collected and used. So and the data, we are data holders, but we are not data owners. You know, people own the data actually. They are owners and they control their data. And always, you know, there has to be a consent if they want to seek services. Their identity cannot be verified without their consent. So we are not a regulating authority per se, but we work with the regulatory authority, like the central bank, to enforce these MOUs and laws. We work with the data protection authority as well. We work with the telecom authority to enforce these MOUs. So that's how we work, and there's, you know, we have currently 30 services linked, private services linked to the ID, and more public services. And we are actually working very closely with them, and there is, you know, penalties if there is a data breach in any case, and there has been no incidents reported since we have become operational.
So, DG Josephine, maybe the trickiest question for you is transitioning from the old, the legacy, to the new that you're busy doing. You know, the older national ID cards are being replaced now, so maybe you could talk a little bit about how are you going to manage this transition, or how are you managing this transition so that you don't lose control?
Yes, transition is a tricky one, but what we do, the first aspect is communication. Communication to the citizen, communication to the stakeholders, so that everybody is aware. So we've been very intentional in the way we implement this digital identity. So we communicate with stakeholders through regulators, and we conduct a lot of sessions where we provide like our plan, so that they go along with us. And from the citizen side, we did a lot of pilot. We had an expo recently, and yes, so we go even in markets, we go in different gatherings, and then we inform the citizens about it, the benefits, and then also what they will gain, what are the current pains they were having with the current ID, and how we are going to solve them moving forward, because they have to be our partner as we are moving forward. The other aspect we are looking at as we are transitioning is to have, yes, we have a sunset provision in our law where this current ID has to be discontinued and we get the other one, the digital identity, with minimal information on it. So the challenge is, those who had an identity, is very easy to move them to the new one. But with the digital identity, we expanded the scope. So we are getting new people who did not have an ID before to be now part of ID. So as along the side of teaching the benefit to those who own the ID, is also now teaching those who are not going to acquire ID for the first time, what are the benefits for them, because they've been sort of not part of this entire ecosystem. For them, but also for the service providers, because they do not even cater for them in their service provision as well. So how to mitigate and ensure that everybody is moving along. So to ensure that, we are going with, we've identified use cases that drive the uptake. So we go with education. This one is cross-board. We go with health, because one way or another, we need a health service. Social protection is one of our biggest drive. We also go with justice. And then, yes, the movement, the travel and everything, and service delivery. We have Irembo. We are blessed to have such a platform already. So, yes, Irembo is one of our major partner as we implement. So we are looking at all the aspect areas, from the collection all the way to the issuance and the usage. So we communicate when we have different package of communication tools that we always engage. So recently we've also partnered with digital ambassadors. These are trainers on ICT within communities. So they are also our foot soldiers, if I may say. So we give them a package to, when they meet local government officials, they have content for them. When they go into citizen training, they have content for them. When they go in health facilities. So we've tried to break down those communication, and then just to ensure that as we move along, we do not really leave anybody behind.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you. Executive Director Rosemary, maybe let's talk a little bit about data security, because you're collecting all this data. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about how NERA approaches that. You know, what mechanisms are you putting in place for oversight, for data security, you know, architectural mechanisms? How do you keep the system strong so that you can keep the faith in the people?
I'm going to discuss data security from a multidimensional field. One, there's the regulatory framework. The regulatory framework of Uganda, I dare say, is airtight in the area of requiring data security and measuring compliance to data security. There are different players, from the Office of the Auditor General to the Data Protection Office to NITA-U, before you purchase and all that. So there are different mechanisms at a regulatory level who are critical to ensuring data security is applied. There are three other dimensions. I won't talk much about the technology because the experts are in the room. And I would dare say most of the access control, you know, the whole shebang is therein applied. But I will talk about two dimensions that are usually ignored. And one of them is the people. As NERA, every member of staff is required to sign a data protection pact. Meaning, if you are responsible for a leakage, you have a personal responsibility that has a high cost, not just to your current job, but to your future job. Secondly, and this one I would like to say to the vendors in the room, oftentimes we sell technology without thinking that, are we giving our best shot or are we just, making the next sale? There is a cost to data breaches. In Uganda, the cost of one lost record is $1,500. So if you are underlying technology and 27 million records are lost, I don't want to get into the computation of the dollars that are involved there, but there is a cost to that. So vendors, friends, partners, it is important that you partner with the country in ensuring security of the system that you are putting forward or participating in. There is a high cost to a breach. Number three, around people. Sometimes the weakest link, and this I have also told the vendors who have pitched to us, the weakest link is the people. Are the people well trained? Are they trained to handle this precious, you hold people's lives with a national database. Furthermore, do people know? Because, even if you put soldiers here and everybody, and the one password, someone leaves it at home with their young child, that's it. It's just, they're as strong as their weakest link. So still to our technology partners, it is important for Africa to be trained well. With a global village, we are your weakest link. And there will be a high price to pay for inadequacies in strengthening the people network in Africa. I'll go to the last one, which is process, which I will also talk about. Process is process. Along the way of collecting data, where is it lost? So in essence, we look at it from a multi-dimensional way: architecture, people, process, technology, security by design, and make sure that we do our best to secure the national database. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our participants. You know, it's so important that we manage identity well in these countries and we keep it strong, secure, and transparent so that everybody can benefit. So I thank you for your work and I thank you for your participation. Thanks, everybody.